Hi, I'm Ranger Danny, and today I'll be talking to you about spring snails. Does anyone know what a spring snail is? It's okay if you don't, I'm here to tell you about them. So a spring snail is a tiny freshwater snail that lives in springs and is individually adapted to specific springs that they live in. Now, how tiny, you may ask? They're about the size of the tip of a ballpoint pen, to give you an idea. There are 180 species of spring snails here in North America. Red Rock Canyon National Conservation Area has 2 of them. We have the Southeast Nevada Purrg and the Spring Mountain Purrg. So what makes spring snails so unique? Well, you can find them in microhabitats, which are small habitats that can have varying conditions such as temperature, water current velocity, which is just the measure of how fast water is moving, and interactions with other animals, and water depth. And you can find spring snails in rocks. For example, this right here will probably have maybe 10 to 20 spring snails, even more. Or you can also find them in watercress, which interestingly enough, they don't eat watercress. They just like to attach themselves to the stems and the roots of this plant. So spring snails feed on algae, diatoms, and detritus. So detritus is just dead stuff, and diatoms are a special type of algae that have a silica structure, which is just, silica is just a fancy word for glass, and it gives them a bit more of rigidity and structure compared to regular algae. Spring snails are important when it comes to nutrient cycling because they take algae, microorganisms, and detritus and recycle it and incorporate it back into the spring ecosystem. Spring snails also serve as an indicator species, and an indicator species is just an animal that serves as a measure of environmental conditions of which they live in. So to keep it simple, you can tell how good a spring habitat is doing by finding these tiny snails, and you can also assume the habitat has been unchanged for a long period of time. Unfortunately, spring snails are facing some threats. One of these threats, for example, is people unknowingly stepping on the spring system, killing snails, and ruining the vegetation. So this is one of the reasons you'll see areas that are fenced off, and it's to prevent this from happening. Another example of a threat are invasive species. So for example, invasive crayfish. Fortunately, we do not have any crayfish in this system, but when crayfish do get into a system, they'll eat the spring snails, they'll disturb the water quality, and ruin the vegetation in the spring. Another example of an invasive species is the decollete snail. Now, unfortunately, that snail has made its way into Willow Springs, but staff and volunteers have removed thousands of them by hand. Decollete snails are carnivorous snails that are native to Europe and Asia, and we think that they're eating the local spring snail populations here at Willow Springs. Springs are important here in the desert, and part of Red Rock's mission statement is to conserve and enhance these precious ecosystems along with the wildlife that live in them and are using them. Ways to help protect these spring snails are to respect the enclosed areas and make sure you don't release aquatic pets into the springs. It's also important that you are responsible guests while visiting Red Rock Canyon because you are going to be in the spring snail's home. Thank you for joining me today. I hope you learned something new about spring snails, and hopefully you learn to love them as much as I do.